Hi, my name is Liz, and I'm a friend of Vany's. She asked me to talk to you about books and reading and why I love them. And I've always really loved them since I was really little. I think because it's a great escape from reality, and also you learn a lot of things and get a lot of different perspectives from other people's brains. It's like a direct download of their brain into your brain. Really cool. I would, when I was a little kid, I would imagine that maybe someday I could, like, by magic, I could just reach into like an invisible backpack behind me and pull out any book that I wanted. And then I could know everything, and also I could never be bored. I would always have new stories to read and new things to think about. And really strangely, this came true, came true because of the internet. And I can look up all kinds of information and find out things, and also get free books, which is great. So some books I like, well, actually I read a lot on my Kindle these days, even though I still have a ton of books, as you can see. But I read a lot on the Kindle because it's very lightweight, and I can carry it, and I can fall asleep reading it, and it just turns itself off, which is very convenient. So some books I like a lot of science fiction. I have this book by Larry Niven because it's kind of great short stories. He's really sexist, but they're still good stories. Weird stories about space and the future, and good to imagine. I also like a lot of young adult books and books for children, and books about magic and fantasy. This is a book by Tamara Pierce called First Test, and it's about this girl who wants to become a knight. She's not supposed to because she's a girl, but she's great at it, and she works really hard, and she's really fierce and has a giant sword and is awesome. Also, she has, I think, a faithful dog who only likes her, and a flock of sparrows that like flies around her head and comes and like pecks at her enemies. She's pretty great. Good book. I love this book. I like to read a lot of books from like different countries and times, and books in translation from other languages, because I would love to read every language, but that's impossible. I'm too lazy. This is a book called The Palm Wine Drinkard by Amos Tuatola. It's from Nigeria from maybe 1950, 1960. And it's cool because it's just a very strange story, like a fable about a guy whose favorite guy who makes wine dies, falls off a tree and dies, and he goes into the underworld to find him and bring him back to life so he can make the best beer. It's a good story. Very strange, has a lot of ghosts and dead people and fantastic magic in it. This book I really love because it's super old. It's from, that's my cat. All right, cat. Here. Hey. This is my cat, Dashboard. She likes to eat books and paper, and she's very naughty. Anyway, this book, Kalila and Dimna, it's really great. It's sort of stories within stories. So it's like, it's from Persia, and this version of the story from Persia is actually from India from like 2,000 years ago. Super old and amazing and entertaining, and you just think, wow, people 2,000 years ago were like incredibly, we can really relate to them with these stories. It's like animals telling stories about some other animals, and in that story there's other animals telling more stories, and so it goes very deep and gets really strange and profound. One more that I have is this book called Hands on the Freedom Plow, and it's a book about the civil rights movement activists in the US in the 1960s. The cool thing about this book, other than what it's about, is that it's 52 different stories, like 52 different women telling their stories of what they did as activists and what happened. And you get 50 different pictures of the same events. So sometimes they disagree, they tell things, you can't tell what's true and what's not true, but through getting so many different perspectives, you get a closer picture of what things might have really been like. One other thing I really like to do is making books. So I make tiny books. This is like a little book just made out of one sheet of paper, fold it up, and unfold it. It's about feminist movement in the U.S. in 1920s in New York, actually. So I made this very quickly in an afternoon, and I can just print it on a printer or Xerox it on a copy machine and fold it up and give it to people for free. So it's kind of fun. It's very, very fast and cheap. I have some more books like that, like this little book of poetry by me. It's short, and again, it was very easy and cheap to print. And I love to just do stuff like that and make books and write all the time. So I hope you enjoyed hearing about that, and nice to meet you all. Good night.